The station's maintenance tunnel was narrow and half-lit, with pipes running along both sides. Rian followed the Lumari woman, his boots clanging against the metal floor. The alarms were quieter here, but the faint rumble of distant explosions still reached them. The air smelled of oil and burnt wiring. Rian's mind kept returning to what had just happened. He touched his neck where her glowing tail had wrapped around him. The skin there felt warm, almost pulsing with its own rhythm every few seconds. A strange shimmer passed over his vision, like a ripple in water. He didn't know if it was adrenaline, shock, or whatever she had done, but he could run without feeling dizzy. Only minutes ago, he had been half-conscious and unable to stand. "What's your name?" he asked. Breaking the silence, she glanced over her shoulder but didn't slow down. "Vera." "Vera," he repeated, trying the sound. "And you're Lumari, right?" She gave a small nod, her tail swaying behind her. "Yes," Rian frowned. "I thought Lumari avoided human space. Most do," she said simply. "But I had a reason to be here." He waited for her to explain, but she didn't. They reached a ladder leading upward, and Vera climbed first. The glow from her tail lit the rungs as she moved, when Rian followed. He noticed his fingers gripping the metal more firmly than before. His balance felt sharper. His breathing steadied. They emerged into a small service chamber. A hole in the far wall revealed the blackness of space, protected only by a flickering emergency field. Rian looked away quickly, focusing on Vera as she studied a wall console. "How long will this station last?" he asked. She touched the screen with quick, practiced motions. "Not long. Too many breaches. The core is unstable." Rian glanced at the glowing lines on his forearms. "About earlier, you said I won't be human again. What does that mean?" Vera hesitated. "What I did is called the binding. I shared part of my essence with you, my life energy, my blood, my instincts. It healed you, but it will not stop there. Your body will adapt to survive with it." He tried to absorb her words. "Adapt? How? Your senses will change, your strength, your speed, your lungs, your blood. You will breathe water as easily as air. You will heal faster. But some parts of being human will fade. You may not be able to live fully in your old world." Her calm voice made it sound like a fact, not a warning. Rian laughed softly. "Though there was no humor in it, and you decided to just do that, you were dying," she said without looking up from the console. "I had seconds to choose." He wanted to be angry, but deep down he knew she had been right. He would already be dead if not for her, still. The idea of losing his humanity sent a cold feeling through him, a cold that even the warmth in his veins couldn't chase away. The console beeped, and Vera turned toward him. "We have to move. The nearest safe dock is 3 levels down." They left the chamber and took another set of narrow corridors. Rian noticed his footsteps were lighter now. His ears picked up distant sounds more clearly, the groan of shifting metal, the faint drip of water from a broken pipe. He also became aware of Vera's presence in a strange way, almost like he could sense where she was without looking. At one point, the corridor split into 2 paths. Vera chose the right, but before she spoke, Rian had already started following her. She paused, her eyes narrowing slightly. "You felt it," she said quietly. "What?" "The connection. The binding links our senses in a small way. You will notice it more over time." Rian wasn't sure how he felt about that. He didn't even know her. And now she was part of him, or he was part of her. They turned another corner and froze. 3 figures stood ahead, their armor mismatched and dented. Scavengers, each held a weapon, and their eyes locked on the newcomers. The leader, a tall man with a scar across his jaw, grinned. "Look what we have here," he said. "A wounded soldier, and some glowing." Fish Avira's tail twitched, its glow brightening slightly. "We don't have time for this," she murmured. The scavenger leader chuckled. "Oh, you'll make time." The 2 at his sides began to move forward. Rian lifted his rifle, but before he could aim, one of them fired. The shot went wide, hitting the wall and showering sparks. Something inside Rian shifted. Before he knew it, he had stepped forward, his body moving faster than his thoughts. His legs felt like coiled springs, and when he lunged, It was with a speed that startled even him. He closed the distance in seconds, striking the nearest scavenger's arm and knocking the weapon away. The movement felt almost too easy, as if his body had been built for it. The second scavenger swung at him with the butt of a gun, but Rian ducked without thinking and drove his shoulder into the man's chest, sending him stumbling back. The leader aimed at Vera, but she moved with a fluid grace, her tail striking out like a whip and knocking the weapon from his hands. The glow flared brightly for an instant, and the man froze, stunned by the sudden light. "Go," Vera said. They ran past the dazed scavengers. Rian didn't look back. His heart pounded, but not from fear, from the strange rush that still lingered in his limbs. When they finally reached the maintenance hatch and sealed it behind them, Rian leaned against the wall, breathing heavily. "What was that?" Vera studied him. "Your body is already adapting. Strength, reflexes. It will continue." He rubbed the back of his neck. It felt natural to natural. "That is why the binding is forbidden among my people," she said quietly. "It changes more than the body. It changes the mind." Her words hung in the air. Somewhere far below them, the station groaned again, as if reminding them time was short. Vera stepped toward a small ladder leading down. "We are close to the dock. After that, we leave this place." Rian followed, still trying to process everything. He had been a soldier his whole life, trained to understand his limits. Now, those limits were breaking, and he wasn't sure where it would end. The maintenance ladder led down into a low, dim corridor. The walls were streaked with rust, and water dripped from broken pipes overhead. Every drop echoed in the silence. Vera moved ahead, her glowing tail casting ripples of blue light across the metal walls. Rian followed, rifle in hand, his senses unusually sharp. He could hear her footsteps as clearly as his own. The air felt heavier here, almost damp, but it didn't bother him like it should have. They reached a sealed door with an old control panel. Vera tapped the screen, frowning when it flashed red. "It's locked," she said. "Can you open it?" Rian asked. "I can try," she replied, running her fingers over the panel in slow, precise motions. While she worked, Rian glanced at his reflection in a patch of metal on the wall. The dim light made it hard to see clearly, but there was no mistaking it. His eyes were different. The color was deeper, and when he moved his head, they caught the light like water. He blinked and looked away. "How long until?" He stopped, unsure how to phrase it. "Until the change is complete," Vera asked without looking up. "Yeah, 7 cycles," she said. "After that, there's no going back." 7 cycles? You mean days?" She shook her head. "Not exactly. Lumari cycles are a little longer. About 30 hours each." Rian's grip on his rifle tightened. "So I have, what, less than 10 days before I stop being human." Her fingers paused on the screen, but she didn't answer right away. "Yes," she said finally. The panel beeped, and the door slid open with a groan. Vera stepped inside, and Rian followed. They entered a large storage chamber. Containers were stacked in uneven rows, and the faint hum of machinery filled the air. A pool of water had formed in the far corner, reflecting Vera's glow. "This way," she said. Weaving between the containers, Rian stayed close. His mind was racing. He thought about his squad, about Earth, about everything he would be leaving behind if the change continued. But every time he remembered the battle, the pain, the blood, the moment he thought his heart had stopped, he also remembered the warmth of her light and the way life had returned to his body. They reached a side door that opened into a wide walkway overlooking one of the docking bays. The bay below was in chaos. Sparks flew from broken cranes, smoke drifted through the air, and groups of scavengers were rushing to load stolen cargo into their ships. Vera crouched low, scanning the scene. "Our dock is on the far side," she whispered. "But they'll see us if we try to cross." Rian studied the area, noticing a service bridge hanging high above the bay. "What about up there?" he asked, pointing. Her eyes followed his gesture. "It's risky. No guardrails, and the bridge is damaged. Better than walking through them," he said. She considered for a moment, then nodded. "Come." They climbed a narrow set of stairs to the bridge. The metal creaked under their weight, and gaps in the floor revealed the chaos below. Rion's steps were quiet, almost too quiet for heavy boots. He realized he was unconsciously adjusting his balance, stepping like he'd done it all his life. Halfway across, the bridge swayed. Rion instinctively grabbed a cable to steady himself. The movement felt natural, as if his body already knew how to react. He glanced at Vera, and she was watching him with a faint, unreadable expression. "What?" he asked. "You're adapting quickly," she said. "That's good, isn't it?" "It depends," she replied. "Some adapt too fast. They lose themselves before the change is complete." Rion frowned but said nothing. They reached the far side of the bridge and dropped down to a maintenance walkway. That led to a quiet corner of the dock. A small ship rested there, its silver hull marked with faint Lumari patterns. Vera moved to the hatch and began unlocking it. "We need to leave before anyone notices." Rion scanned the area, keeping watch. But then, from behind a stack of crates, a group of scavengers appeared, 4 of them, armed and moving quickly toward the ship. "They've seen us," he warned. Vera turned, her tail glowing brighter. "We can't let them damage the ship." The scavengers shouted and raised their weapons. Rion's body reacted before his mind caught up. He sprinted forward, moving faster than he thought possible. The first scavenger fired, but Rion twisted aside, the shot passing so close he felt the heat. He closed the distance in seconds and struck the man's arm, forcing the weapon to drop. The next rushed him together. Rion ducked, swept one's legs out from under him, and slammed his rifle into the other's chest. The impact sent the man stumbling back into a crate. The last scavenger aimed at Vera, but she lashed her tail out, the glow flaring like lightning. The man staggered back, covering his eyes. Rion finished the fight in seconds. The scavengers lay groaning on the floor, their weapons scattered. He straightened, breathing heavily but not tired. His muscles felt alive, his senses sharp. He realized his heart wasn't pounding as hard as it should have after such a fight. Vera watched him quietly. "You're already stronger than before," she said. Rion looked at his hands. The faint, glowing lines under his skin seemed brighter now. "And you're telling me this is just the beginning?" "Yes," she said simply. "And the more you use it, the faster it grows." He didn't know if that was a warning or encouragement. They boarded the ship, and Vera sealed the hatch behind them. The engines came to life with a soft hum, and the docking clamps released Dot as the ship lifted away from the damaged station. Rion looked out the window at the stars. He should have felt relief at surviving, but instead there was a strange pull inside him. Not toward home, but toward something deeper, something unknown. He didn't realize he was staring until Vera spoke. "You feel it," she said. He turned to her. "Feel what?" "The ocean," she replied. "The binding doesn't just change your body. It calls you to the deep." Rion didn't answer, but in the silence of the ship, he thought he could almost hear it, the sound of waves. Far away, waiting. The small ship glided through open space, leaving the broken station behind. Stars stretched in every direction, cold and bright, inside the cockpit. Rion sat in the co-pilot seat, watching the display screens. The hum of the engines was steady, almost calming, but his thoughts were anything but calm. Vera sat in the pilot's chair, her hands moving over the glowing controls. Her long tail rested loosely beside her, the soft blue light flickering in rhythm with the ship's systems. "How far to?" "Wherever we're going," Rion asked. 2 hours, she said without looking at him. "There's a Lumari outpost nearby. We'll get supplies and decide our next move." He frowned. "And they'll just welcome a human into their outpost." Vera's fingers paused on the controls. "No, they won't." Rion's stomach tightened. "Then why go there?" "Because we have no other choice," she said calmly. "Our ship doesn't have the range to reach human space without refueling. The Lumari will let me dock." But her eyes shifted to him. "You may not like how they see you." He looked away, watching the star field, the faint glow under. His skin reflected in the cockpit glass, and he pulled his sleeve down to hide it. The journey was quiet, until the ship's proximity alarm began to beep. Vera's posture changed instantly. Alert, tense. "What is it?" Rion asked. "Patrol ships," she said. Lumari. Moments later, 3 sleek, fin-shaped craft appeared on the display. They moved with precise, flowing movements like predators in water. One slid ahead of their ship, forcing Vera to slow. A voice crackled through the comms, speaking in a smooth but cold tone. Rian couldn't understand the words, but Vera replied quickly in the same language. Her voice was calm, but her tail flicked once in irritation. "They want to board us," she said after muting the channel. "Why?" "They say they detected something unusual aboard." "They mean you?" Rian's grip tightened on the armrest. "And if they see me," Vera met his eyes, "they will know you're bound, and they will not like it." The patrol ship lashed onto theirs with a magnetic clamp. A moment later, the airlock hissed open, and 3 Lumari guards stepped inside. They were taller than Vera, wearing sleek armor with silver markings. Their eyes glowed faintly, but their expressions were hard and unreadable. The lead guard's gaze landed on Rian immediately. He spoke to Vera in their language. His voice sharp. Rian didn't understand the words, but the tone was clear. Accusation. Vera answered, standing between Rian and the guards. Her voice was steady, but the guard's expression grew darker. He stepped forward, reaching as if to grab Rian's arm. Rian moved back instinctively, but the guard's hand stopped midair. His eyes narrowed as he looked at the faint light on Rian's skin. He turned to Vera and spoke again, this time with clear anger. "They think I forced this on you," Vera explained to Rian in a low voice. "And they think I've created something dangerous," Rian repeated. "They call it a broken tide, a being that is neither fully human nor Lumari. In their eyes, it does not belong anywhere." The guard spoke again, and Vera's jaw tightened. Finally, she stepped aside so the lead guard could inspect Rian more closely. He circled once, his gaze sharp and calculating. Then he stepped back and said something final, short and cold. "They will not let you in the outpost," Vera said quietly, "but they will allow us to refuel and leave under escort, and they gave me a warning." Rian's brow furrowed. "What kind of warning?" Her eyes softened just slightly. "They said if you set foot on Lumari territory again, they will not let you leave alive." The patrol left as quickly as they had arrived, their ships following close behind as Vera guided their vessel toward the outpost. From the cockpit window, Rian saw it, a massive, ring-shaped structure floating in the dark, its surface glowing with blue and green patterns like coral. Long spires stretched outward, giving it the look of a living organism. Small ships darted in and out like schools of fish. The patrol escorted them to a docking platform at the edge of the ring. Vera left the engines running while automated systems refueled the ship. Rian stood beside her, his voice low. "They really see me as a threat, don't they?" "They see you as unnatural," she said softly. "The binding is rare and feared, even when it is done to save a life." He looked at her. "Why did you do it, then, if it's so forbidden?" She hesitated. "Because I have seen enough death, and because I believe not everything that is different must be destroyed." Her words lingered in the air. When the refueling was complete, Vera wasted no time leaving the dock. The escort ships followed until they were far enough from the outpost, then peeled away into the darkness. Only when they were alone again did Rian speak. "So where now?" "There is a water world," Vera said, "unclaimed by any empire. It's a place where few go, and fewer stay. There we can rest, and you can learn what is happening to you." Rian glanced down at his hands. The glow under his skin pulsed faintly, almost in rhythm with his heartbeat. "And if I don't like what I'm becoming," Vera's gaze was steady, "then we will find another way. But you should know, every cycle, the choice will be harder to undo." He looked out at the stars again. Somewhere deep inside, he felt that strange pull, the same one he'd felt since she saved him. It wasn't pointing toward Earth. It was pointing somewhere else, somewhere deep. And he wasn't sure if he wanted to fight it anymore. The ship cut through the black of space, stars streaking past the windows, for hours. Rian had been staring out at them, but lately it was harder to focus. The steady hum of the engines faded into the background, replaced by something else. A faint sound, soft and distant, like waves breaking on a shore. It was impossible. They were light years from any ocean, and yet he could hear it, Vera noticed. She was seated in the pilot's chair, but her gaze kept flicking toward him. You hear it now, she said quietly. Rian turned his head. The water. Yeah, I thought it was my imagination. It is not, she replied. The binding connects you to what I am, to what my people are. It will grow stronger the closer we are to a true ocean. Rian leaned back in his seat. And what happens when we get there? Her tail shifted slowly, the glow faint but steady. You will feel at home, perhaps too much at home. The ship's navigation screen beeped, and Vera adjusted their course. The water world was still a few hours away. Its name, she had told him, was Naylura, a planet of endless seas, with only a few small islands scattered across the surface. It was a place few ships visited. As time passed, Rian's thoughts drifted. His senses were sharper now than they had ever been. He could hear the soft vibration of the ship's panels, smell the faint metallic tang in the air, and see details in the dim light that he would have missed before. But it wasn't just his body. There was something else, a sense of Vera, even without looking. He knew when she was tense, or calm, or watching him. He tried to ignore it, but the connection was like a constant thread between them. By the time Naylura appeared on the view screen, Rian was standing at the cockpit window. The planet filled the glass, an endless swirl of blue and silver, sunlight glinting off the waves. Clouds streaked across its surface like white ribbons. The moment he saw it, the sound of the waves in his mind grew louder. His pulse quickened, and a strange calm spread through him, as if he had been holding his breath for years and only now let it out. Vera's voice was quiet. You feel it? He nodded, unable to speak for a moment. It's a beautiful. The ship entered the atmosphere, the glow of ray entry surrounding them before fading to reveal the endless sea below. The water stretched in every direction, reflecting the light of two suns. Far in the distance, a few dark shapes broke the surface. Islands, perhaps, or massive sea creatures. They descended toward one of the islands. It was small, ringed with pale sand and covered in tall, green plants that swayed in the wind. The ship settled gently on the beach, its landing gear sinking slightly into the sand. The hatch opened, and warm, salt-scented air rushed in. Rian stepped out, the sunlight hitting his face. He hadn't realized how much he missed the feeling of open air until now, but his gaze was drawn to the ocean. The waves rolled in with a steady rhythm, each one carrying the faint shimmer of light. Beneath the surface, he felt an almost physical pull toward the water. You should test your body, Vera said, stepping down beside him. The change is far enough that you can enter without risk. Rian hesitated. You mean swim? I mean breathe, she replied. He turned to her, eyes narrowing. Breathe, underwater, yes, she said simply. It will feel strange at first, but your body will know what to do. Rian looked back at the ocean. The idea sounded impossible, but then again, so had everything else since the battle. Without overthinking, he walked toward the waves. The water was warm when it touched his feet, then his knees, then his waist. He took a breath and dove forward. The moment his head went under, everything changed. The muffled sound of the world above vanished, replaced by the soft rush of the sea. Light filtered down in shimmering patterns, and then, without thinking, he inhaled. The water filled his lungs, but there was no panic, no choking. It was smooth, effortless, as natural as breathing air. Colors appeared that he had never seen before. Fish with glowing fins darted round him, and the sand below seemed to sparkle faintly. He swam deeper, feeling stronger than ever. Each movement swift and precise. He didn't know how long he stayed there. But when he finally surfaced, the suns were lower in the sky. Vera was waiting at the shore, watching him. How was it? She asked. Rian wiped the water from his face. Like, I belong there, he said slowly. Like I've been missing it my whole life. She nodded. That is the danger. Before he could ask what she meant, a faint beeping came from the ship. Vera's expression hardened. She turned and ran toward the hatch, with Rian following. Inside, the cockpit display showed an incoming signal, A ship approaching fast. "Who is it?" Rian asked. "Pirates," she said, her voice clipped. "They must have tracked us from the station." The signal grew stronger, and soon the dark shape of a large vessel appeared above the water, casting a shadow over the beach. Smaller craft launched from its sides, heading straight for their island. Rian felt the pull of the ocean again, stronger now, almost urging him to dive back in. He gripped his rifle, but his eyes kept flicking toward the waves. "They will attack." From the air and the shore, Vera said quickly, "We can use the sea to move without being seen." "You mean fight them underwater?" Rian asked. Her tail flicked, and her glow brightened. "It is where you are strongest now. Trust it." The first pirate craft opened fire, sand exploding in sprays across the beach. Without another thought, Rian followed Vera into the surf. The water closed over his head, and the noise of battle faded. Down here, he could move faster, strike from angles they couldn't predict. And for the first time, he felt no hesitation about what he was becoming. The waves of Naylura crashed against the shore, spraying fine salt water into the air. The twin suns hung low, turning the sea into a liquid mirror of gold and blue. Rian stood at the edge of the beach, his bare feet sinking into the warm sand. His body felt alive in a way he had never known, every nerve, every muscle heightened, every breath steady and full. Vera approached, her tail glowing softly, casting a shimmering light across the sand. "The seventh cycle is near," she said quietly. "Soon, the change will be complete." Rian's gaze drifted to the ocean. He could hear the faint song of the deep again, stronger than ever. It was no longer a gentle call. It pulled at him, insistent and demanding. He flexed his fingers, feeling the faint glow beneath his skin, feeling the rhythm of his heartbeat matching the rhythm of the waves. "What happens if I let it finish?" he asked. "You will no longer be fully human," Vera said. "Your lungs, your muscles, your senses, all will adapt to the water. You will live, but you will belong to the ocean in a way no human can." He swallowed hard. "And if I refuse?" "There is a ritual," Vera replied. "It can undo the binding, but it will cost you your life. You cannot survive it once the final cycle begins." Rian closed his eyes, trying to steady his thoughts. He remembered the battle on the station, the glowing warmth of her tail, the way his body had healed. He remembered swimming in the ocean for the first time, feeling like he had always been meant to be there. Yet part of him still ached for the world he had left behind, his friends, the stars, Earth itself. Vera stepped closer. "I will not lie to you. This is not easy for anyone. Not for me, not for you. But you must decide." Rian looked at her, searching her face for answers. She didn't give him any, only patience and understanding. He turned to the ocean, the waves crashing at his feet, glowing faintly beneath the surface. He could see shapes moving in the water, creatures of light and shadow, curious and unafraid. His heart pulsed in time with the rhythm of the sea. Every instinct told him to dive, to let the water take him fully. And yet, another part of him hesitated, a part that remembered the station, his squad, his life as a human, a part that wanted to hold on to what he had known. Vera watched him silently. Finally, she spoke. "Whatever you choose, I will stand by you. But you must choose yourself." Rian took a deep breath, feeling the warm air fill his lungs. He closed his eyes and reached out with his mind, as he had been learning to do with the binding. He could sense Vera, her heartbeat, her calm, her steady presence, and through her, he felt the ocean, vast and endless, calling him. The pull was overwhelming. It was not just desire, it was recognition, a sense of belonging that went deeper than thought or memory. It called him home. Rian opened his eyes and looked back at Vera. I want to live," he said slowly. "I want to survive. I want to see what I can become." Her eyes softened, and a small, approving smile appeared. "Then it is decided." He stepped into the water, feeling the waves rise around him. At first, the cold shocked him slightly, but then his body adjusted. His lungs felt light, his limbs strong. He dove beneath the surface, and the ocean welcomed him like an old friend. Light shimmered around him, illuminating the shapes of strange creatures moving gracefully through the depths. Rian moved through the water as easily as if he had always been there. He could see farther, sense currents, detect movement before it reached his eyes. His muscles moved with power and precision, his skin adjusting to the pressure and temperature dot above him. Vera dove too, keeping pace effortlessly, her glowing tail wrapped around him briefly, reinforcing the bond, sharing her strength, guiding him deeper. Time passed differently underwater. Rian lost count of hours as he explored the reefs, the glowing caves, and the deep trenches of Naylura. He tested his new abilities, leaping through currents, breathing effortlessly, sensing every creature around him. Finally, he surfaced near a glowing coral arch, gasping slightly for the familiar feel of air. But even that felt different now, smoother, easier, almost unnecessary. He looked at Vera, who was watching him with pride. "You've done well," she said. "Not all who begin the binding survive it. Many are overwhelmed by the change, or reject it and fade away." Rian nodded, still catching his breath. "I feel alive, strong. Everything feels sharper. But I feel connected to you, to this world, to the water." Vera's tail brushed against his arm, a comforting touch. "That connection will remain. It is part of you now." As the suns began to set, turning the ocean gold and violet, a shadow moved beneath the surface. Rian's new instincts kicked in. He sensed it before he saw it, a large, sleek shape, moving fast, circling beneath them. Vera's voice was calm. "Do not fear it. These creatures are curious, not hostile. But you should be ready to move with them." Rian dove again, and the shadow followed. Weaving through the reefs and glowing caves, he felt exhilaration, a thrill unlike anything he had known on the battlefield. His human fears seemed distant, irrelevant, here in the water. He belonged. Hours later, when they returned to the shallow waters near the shore, Rian knew he had made the right choice. The pull of the deep was strong. Yes, but it no longer frightened him. Instead, it guided him, taught him, and connected him to the ocean and to Vera in ways he could not fully explain. Vera rested on the sand beside him, her tail flicking softly. "Tomorrow," she said, "we will explore the deeper waters. You will learn more about your abilities, and you will meet others like you, rare ones who have survived the binding." Rian smiled faintly, feeling the glow of strength beneath his skin. "I'm ready," he said. The suns disappeared below the horizon, and the ocean reflected the last light. Rian realized that he was no longer just a soldier, no longer just human. He was something new, something stronger, something that could survive, and perhaps even thrive, in ways no human had before. And for the first time since the battle, he felt a sense of hope. The morning sun rose slowly over Naylura, painting the endless ocean in hues of gold and soft blue. Rian floated near the surface, feeling the waves move around him. The water felt alive, almost like it recognized him now. Every heartbeat matched the rhythm of the sea, and the faint glow beneath his skin pulsed gently in harmony with the currents. Vera approached, swimming beside him. Her tail glowed softly, lighting their path. "You're ready," she said. "Today, you will meet the others." Rian tilted his head. "Others?" "Yes," she replied. "Rare ones who survived the binding. Not many humans have ever endured it, but some have, and they now live in the oceans like you will." He felt a mixture of curiosity and nervousness. He had survived the station, the pirates, and the transformation itself, but meeting others who had walked this path was something new. Could they accept him? Could he accept them? Vera led him deeper into the glowing waters. The ocean shimmered with life. Fish with luminous fins darted in schools. Strange creatures moved with grace, and coral formations glowed faintly like cities under the sea. Soon, they reached a vast trench, the walls glowing softly. Shapes moved within it, larger than anything Rian had imagined. As he swam closer, he saw them clearly, beings partially human in shape, yet fully adapted to water. Their skin smooth and reflective, tails and fins flowing like ribbons. They watched him carefully, curiosity in their eyes. One stepped forward. A tall figure with silver blue markings across their arms. "You are new." The figure said in a calm voice. Rian nodded. HFY was saved by Vera. She performed the binding. The figure studied him, then smiled faintly. Then you were one of us. Welcome. Rian felt a strange warmth. For the first time, he wasn't just learning to survive. He was being recognized as part of a new family, a new world. Vera's voice echoed in the water, gentle but strong. This is your home now. Learn from them, swim with them, explore. Understand the strength you have gained. The others approached, and Rian swam among them. Their movements were natural, effortless, and graceful. He found himself matching their speed and agility without thought. Every dive, every turn, every breath of water felt instinctive. He laughed softly, a sound that bubbled through the water. One of the new companions, a female with glowing patterns, along her arms, swam close to him. You are strong, she said, faster than most who come here. I am still learning, Rian replied. You will adapt, she said with a gentle smile. The water will teach you if you listen. Rian followed them through coral tunnels, past glowing caves and deep trenches. The ocean seemed alive with possibilities. He could feel currents guiding him, creatures acknowledging him, and a sense of purpose growing in his chest. After hours of exploration, they surfaced near a calm lagoon. The sun was lower now, casting long reflections across the water. Rian climbed onto a flat rock beside Vera, letting the water flow over his legs. He felt different, not just stronger, but more connected. To the water, to Vera, and to the life around him. You have changed, Vera said softly, sitting beside him. Her tail wrapped lightly around his arm. Not just your body, your mind. You are no longer limited by fear or weakness. Rian looked out at the endless sea. I feel alive, and yet I also feel responsibility to this place, to you, to everyone who will follow this path. She smiled faintly. That is the gift and the burden. You are stronger, yes, but you are also a bridge between humans and Lumari, between land and sea. Your existence shows that survival does not require isolation. That connection can bring strength. Rian nodded slowly. I understand. I will do my best. That night, as the twin moons of Naylur rose over the ocean, Rian and Vera floated side by side, the waves gently rocking them. Stars reflected in the water above and beneath the surface. Faint lights glimmered like distant cities. Vera touched his shoulder. Tomorrow, we will explore the deeper trenches. You will meet others who have mastered the depths and learn what it truly means to belong to the ocean. Rian smiled. I am ready. For the first time since his life had changed so drastically, he felt peace. Not just survival, but purpose. The binding had saved him, transformed him, and given him a place where he could grow stronger than he ever had as a human. He thought back to the battle on the station, to the glowing warmth of Vera's tail wrapping around his neck, and he realized something important. Death had been waiting for him, and yet life had chosen him instead, life in a form he had never imagined, with possibilities beyond human understanding. The ocean whispered to him again, soft and persistent. He did not resist. Instead, he let the water guide him, let his instincts take over, and let his new body move freely. Every stroke, every dive, every turn was perfect. He could feel the creatures of the deep recognizing him, acknowledging him as part of their world. Vera watched him with quiet pride. You have embraced it, she said. Double quotes, yes. Rian replied, surfacing briefly to look at the night sky. And I will not turn back. The stars shimmered above, the moons reflected on the water, and the ocean stretched endlessly in every direction. Rian realized he was no longer just a survivor. He was a new being, a link between worlds, stronger than he had ever imagined. The water welcomed him fully now, not as a visitor, but as one of its own. And Rian knew that, together with Vera, he would explore every corner of this ocean world, face every challenge, and discover every strength within himself. For the first time in his life, he was truly alive. The ocean pulsed around him, the glow of his new body merging with the light beneath the waves. The binding was complete. He was no longer just human. He was more. And in that transformation, He found hope, purpose, and a future that stretched as endlessly as the sea itself. The twin suns of Zereth hung low in the sky, painting the city in gold and crimson light. The grand square was filled with noise, merchants whispering, soldiers barking orders, and curious onlookers pressing forward to see the event. At the center of the square stood a raised platform, cold and metallic, its surface gleaming under the fading sunlight. On her knees in the middle of that platform was a young Lunari girl named Rin. Her silver hair, common among her kind, was tangled and dusty. Her wrists were bound in glowing restraints, and a shadow of fear lingered in her bright eyes. She was small, almost fragile-looking, but her expression carried stubbornness beneath the fear. Around her, a half-circle of armored Lunari guards stood at attention. Behind them, an imposing figure in long robes, Maegr, the High Judge of the Lunari capital, was preparing to announce the verdict. This trial is concluded. Maegr's voice boomed, carrying across the entire square. The accused, Rin of the lower quarter, is found guilty of stealing a sacred energy crystal from the Hall of Radiance. For this crime, the punishment is 300 public lashes. Gasps spread through the crowd. Even among the Lunari, it was rare to see such a harsh sentence carried out in the open square. The sacred energy crystal was no ordinary jewel. It was an object of power and faith, guarded for centuries. The penalty for touching it without permission was severe. Rin's voice broke through the murmurs. "I didn't steal it," she shouted, her words trembling but clear. "I was returning it. Someone had dropped it." "Silence," Maegr snapped, his dark eyes narrowing. "The law does not bend for excuses. The evidence is clear." At the edge of the square, a human boy named Tom pushed his way through the crowd. He had arrived on Zereth only 3 months ago, part of an exchange program between Earth and the Lunari Empire. Most of his days were spent studying alien technology and history. But today, his focus was entirely on the figure kneeling on the platform. He had seen Rin once before, helping a child who had tripped in the marketplace. She had been smiling then, her voice soft and warm. Seeing her now, surrounded by guards and condemned in front of hundreds of eyes, felt wrong in every possible way. Tom had heard whispers in the crowd that she was from the poor district, that she had no family to speak for her, that the rich merchants didn't want someone like her near sacred places. The pieces didn't fit. Why would someone like Rin risk stealing an object that could doom her life? 2 guards moved forward, unrolling a strange whip that shimmered with a faint blue energy. It was longer than Tom's arm and thin as a vine, its surface sparking with tiny flashes of light. He had read about it in training. The shock lash, a weapon that could deliver both physical pain and burning energy to the skin. Even strong Lunari warriors feared it. The first lash was raised. Something inside Tom snapped. Before he knew what he was doing, he was moving through the crowd, pushing past startled onlookers. "Wait!" he shouted, his voice carrying more loudly than he expected. The guards froze for a brief second, enough for Maegr to glance down at him. The High Judge's eyes narrowed. "Who speaks?" "Me," Tom said, stepping into the open space before the platform. His heart was pounding, but his voice didn't shake. "Tom of Earth, exchange program student. This is not your concern. Human," Maegr said sharply. "Leave before you are removed." Tom swallowed hard but didn't move. His gaze shifted to Rin, who was staring at him with wide, confused eyes. "She's innocent," Tom said, his voice firm. "I don't believe she did what you're accusing her of." Maegr's lips curled into something between amusement and irritation. "Do you question the law of the Lunari Empire?" "I question a law that punishes someone without listening to them," Tom said. "If you're going to give her 300 lashes, then punish me instead." The words hung in the air like a strike of thunder. The crowd went utterly silent. Even the guards hesitated, unsure if they had heard correctly. Rin blinked at him, shock flashing across her face. "What? No, why would you?" Tom didn't take his eyes off Maegr. "You want a punishment? Take it from me." A ripple of whispers moved through the crowd. Humans were seen as strange visitors in Lunari society, physically weaker, slower, less adapted to the gravity and thin air of Zereth. No one had ever volunteered to take a Lunari sentence before. It was unthinkable. Mager leaned forward slightly, studying the boy as if trying to read his thoughts. You would endure 300 lashes of the shock lash for someone you barely know. Tom nodded. Yes, and why? Mager's voice was slow, deliberate. Because I can't stand here and watch someone suffer for something they didn't do, Tom said simply. If this is justice, then let it fall on me. The murmurs in the crowd grew louder. Some Lunari shook their heads, muttering that the human was a fool. Others looked at him with something like respect. Ren's voice trembled. You don't even know me. I know enough, Tom replied quietly. You don't deserve this. Mager raised a hand, and the crowd fell silent again. His eyes were cold, but there was a glint of curiosity in them now. Very well, human, he said. At last, you may take her punishment, but know this. If you fall before the last lash, she will take what remains, and no mercy will be shown. Tom's stomach twisted, but he didn't let it show. I understand. The guards moved forward. Unlocking Ren's restraints, she stood shakily, looking from Mager to Tom as if she couldn't believe what was happening. You don't have to do this, she whispered. I do, Tom said. Then, with a faint smile. Besides, I've always been bad at just watching. The guards gestured for him to step onto the platform. As Tom moved past Ren, she caught his arm for a brief second, her fingers trembling. Her lips moved silently, forming a single word he understood without hearing. Why? He gave no answer, only stepped forward and faced the place where she had been kneeling moments ago. The crowd pressed in closer. Above them, the twin suns sank lower, casting long shadows across the square. The whip crackled with blue fire in the hands of the executioner, and in the middle of it all, a human boy stood, ready to take 300 lashes for an alien girl he barely knew.